The night was as black as ink, the silence heavy and suffocating. I lay in bed trying to sleep, but my eyes refused to close. Tossing and turning, I felt a deep sense of dread creep over me. It was then that I started hearing them, faint whispers coming from the corner of my room. At first, they were barely audible, like the rustling of leaves outside my window. But as the minutes ticked by, the whispers grew louder, weaving in and out of the darkness. I strained to listen, my heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. Fear threatened to consume me as the whispers seemed to be coming closer. I sat up in bed, my eyes darting around the room. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting and turning as if they had a life of their own. The clock ticked loudly in the silence, each tick echoing in my ears like a hammer striking a bell. My mind raced, trying to find a logical explanation for what I was hearing. Then I felt it, a cold breath on the back of my neck, and I froze. My blood ran cold as the whispers seemed to come from all around me. They were right in my room, yet I couldn't see anything in the darkness. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination playing tricks on me, but the fear that gripped my heart told a different story. The whispers continued throughout the night, moving from corner to corner as if something unseen was pacing in my room. I watched in horror as the shadows on the walls contorted and twisted, taking on shapes that made my blood run cold. I pulled the blanket up to my chin, seeking comfort in its familiar texture, but it offered little solace. Each creak of the floorboards sent shivers down my spine, and I cried out, burying my face in the pillow. I wanted to scream, to make the unseen presence in my room reveal itself, but fear kept me silent. I lay there paralyzed with terror, my body shaking, my mind screaming. As the first rays of sunlight peeked through the curtains, the whispers slowly faded away. The shadows on the walls retreated, shrinking into the corners of the room until they were no longer visible. With trembling hands, I got out of bed and walked to the window. The sky was a brilliant blue, the clouds like cotton candy against the vast expanse of color. Birds chirped merrily outside, and the sun shone warmly on my face. It was a beautiful day, and I couldn't help but wonder why the darkness had brought such terror into my life the night before. I looked around the room, noticing for the first time how neat and tidy it was. Everything was in its place, and there was not a single sign that I had not been alone in the room the entire night. Had it been a dream? I wondered, touching my face to see if I had hurt myself in my frantic tossing and turning. But there were no marks, no bruises, no cuts. It was then that I realized the true horror of the situation. If what I experienced wasn't real, then what was? What had whispered in my ear? Was it my imagination or something more sinister? The thought sent chills down my spine, and I hurried to the bathroom to stare at my reflection in the mirror. My face was pale, my eyes wide and haunted. I looked back at the room, and for a moment, I could have sworn I saw the shadows move. I shook my head, trying to clear it, but the fear remained. As the hours passed, I went about my daily routine, but my mind kept returning to the whispers in the room. I told myself it was just my imagination, that sometimes our minds play tricks on us in the stillness of the night. But a part of me, a small, frightened voice, kept wondering if I had really been alone in that room. And as I write this now, safe in the light of day, I can't help but shiver when I think of the darkness that enveloped me and the whispers that echoed in my ears. Sometimes the most terrifying things happen when the world is silent and only your fears speak.